More times than not in boxing, thankfully, we don't witness ring deaths. But in boxing, we always use war as a metaphor for a toe-to-toe battle. And if there are no casualties, then it's not a war, basically. But after watching Lopez and Salido, in fact, during watching Lopez and Salido, just before the fight ended, I was thinking, one of you guys is never going to be able to perform like that in the ring again, because just by the nature of how the fight is ebbing and flowing, you know? I mean, these commentators like to say fighters are boring, too technical maybe, and crap. They don't never say too technical, they say boring, you know? Because they know they'd look stupid by decrying a technician, so they'll call him boring instead. But the thing is, a boxer's career is a relatively short career. Even a defensively sound and a defensively minded fighter has a relatively short career. Now, Salido is never going to be able to change his style. He's just a Mexican warrior. That's who he is, you know. And he won the fight. In a way, he won the fight, but long term, how many of them fights can you have before it takes a toll? Really and truly. You know? I mean, Tava said after that Lopez can't continue to fight like this for his own health reasons, and that he has to come back and start at the beginning and go slow. But you just have to bear in mind is that when you fight like that, you leave a big piece of yourself in that ring. And you can never get it back again. Never. And Tava really was doing his commentator role. What he really wanted to say is Lopez needs to retire. That's what he really wanted to say. Because his fighting style is going to be detrimental to him. That's what he really wanted to say. But he didn't want to do a scaremongering job, because Tava fights with defense. He has offense, but he has defensive wits about him all the time. Like I said, fighters like Salido and Lopez, they leave a big part of them inside the ring. They don't get no percentage of that either. It gets divided up between the fans, the television networks, promoters, and whoever else thinks they can take a piece. And there are more fighters than we might want to think who have to cope with the realities of their profession by drinking alcohol, taking recreational drugs. A whole leap more fighters than we want to believe. Because there's a lot of psychological and physical fallout to deal with. A lot of these boxers, their families have to suffer when they see their dad or their husband writhing in pain, the pain that he hides from his manager, his promoter, and his fans. Families suffer when these fighters have violent mood swings, because when you're frustrated and angry and you're physically hurting, you normally take it out on those who are closest to you. And these are proud men who accept with their chosen trade. They can't afford to show weakness and vulnerability through their chosen trade, where they have to leave a big part of them inside the ring to please the masses. I know a lot of people don't want to deal with that because You suppose the sport is a spectator for some of us, but these are the realities. You know, when you leave that big part of you inside that ring, training toe to toe to be a crowd-pleasing fighter, as some of these networks say. But if you're brain damaged through fighting in wars, who's going to pay your bills? Who's going to look after your kids? How are you going to be able to function to get a next job? What's the psychological fallout from all that? And I understand the concept. It was Mexico versus Puerto Rico, and they have that vicious rivalry. And I understand fighting is fighting. We call it boxing, but it's fighting. But at the same time, we do call it boxing. So should there come a time when we encourage, and I'm talking about the governing bodies, TV networks, the trainers, the coaches, the fans, shouldn't there come a time that we encourage fighters to fight with more emphasis on defense than toe-to-toe wars? And I'm assuming that neither Salido or Lopez, as high-profiled in the boxing world as their fights are, I'm assuming neither of them are making million-dollar purses. And let's face it, most boxers do not invest their money wisely. It's just how it is. And it's not a factor that the governing bodies can just overlook. It's a reality. It is a reality. And instead of just taking sanctioning fees and making a whole load of ludicrous decisions that affect fighters, they have to look into the long-term development of that fighter who they're taking them sanctioning fees from. Because like I said, you have to weigh up the fact that most boxers invest their money badly. And until they either do some kind of pension scheme, which is going to take a long time to work out, until they do that, you're going to have to encourage them to fight differently to preserve their health. Because if they're not investing their money wisely, what are they going to do? They'll retire because they can't go on. The bodies are just breaking down. Then when they're really financially strapped and their body's healed up a little bit, they're going to the gym and they'll start working out. And no doubt there'll be some manager, some promoter still willing to exploit them, and they'll make a comeback. Reflexes slow down. Basically, they're fighting on memory now. Athletic ability diminished. Neurological motor skills and punch resistance shot to pieces. And when they probably was in their teenage years, or early 20s, when the physique was cut and chiseled and the mind was still sharp, they was thinking, I'm never going to end up like them old fighters. I'll fight till my mid-20s, make my dough, and get out. I'd love to see the percentage of fighters who manage to do that. I'd love to see it. There's a phrase that youth is lost on the young. It's a phrase that goes way over the head of the young. But it resonates hard to those of us who are aging. You know? And fighters are encouraged to do stupid things like sell themselves on having iron chins and concrete jaws. And the truth is, you do not have an iron chin. You do not have a granite jaw. There's only so much punishment you can endure until even granite cracks. Silly concept. Stupid ideology. You know? Some defense even a little defense is better than none. And I'm going to end this by saying, if any fighters come across this video, I'm just going to say, look after yourself inside the ring. And when you're outside the ring, look after your money. So this is Boxing Beats Rhymes saying peace out.